Well, hello, everyone. Good Wednesday evening to everyone who is joining us. So we are here with Assemblyman Gregory Hafen for his second live town hall of the session. And we're so glad to have you here. Our last one last month was quite a success. It's so great getting these updates from Assemblyman Hafen and finding out what's really going on in Carson City right now. And one of the things we want to start with, Assemblyman Hafen, of course, is if you were at the last town hall, there was a big issue that came up amongst folks. They wanted to talk about solar, and you have some great news about your solar bills and what's going on the solar front right now. And it's a thanks to a lot of the people who attended this event. So give us that update, Assemblyman.
Yeah, Michelle, everyone, great to see you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. I want to quickly just do a little update on where we're at. Monday was our deadline day for the legislators to introduce their bills. And today is actually UNLV day. So I got my Running Rebel gray and red on. And Monday, my solar bill dropped. It's Assembly Bill 419. And I kind of alluded to what I'm trying to do is say, we're no longer going to provide tax abatements to the solar companies that are providing power solely to California. So I introduced that bill on Monday. I'm scheduling meetings with stakeholders, the governor's office, at least the governor's office of energy. And I've actually had the governor's office like texting me going, hey, I'm getting a bunch of emails on these solar projects out in Pahrump. What's going on? And I was like, here's the backstory. I got a bill coming to try to help address some of this stuff. So that's the good news. And so I got to thank everyone that's been sending emails expressing your concerns to the governor's office because he heard them, he saw them, and he reached out to me immediately after he started receiving them, which I got to give you guys kudos. I appreciate it because that's what I want to do. That's what I love seeing. I love to be able to see that we're getting people involved in the process and your voice is being not only heard, but listened to. And that's super, super important. I do want to touch on a little bit of the bad part on deadline day. There were a couple of bad solar bills that got dropped. Specifically SB 421. I haven't looked at the details yet, but it appears to try to legislate their way out of what Nye County has done in the temporary moratorium on solar. Was a little disappointed to see that that language was put into another bill that didn't seem to be really related. Those are sections 13 through 15 of Senate Bill 421. The rest of the bill really didn't seem too bad, but that was flagged for me today. And I literally, it was flagged about an hour and a half ago for me. I'm sitting in the middle of my Health and Human Service Committee. So I just glanced at it real quick. I haven't looked at it in detail, but if you guys have time, please look up Senate Bill 421. Let me know your thoughts, your feedback. I've reached out to a couple of other individuals. Senator Scott Hammond actually sits on the committee for Commerce and Labor that this is going to be heard for or in front of. So reached out to him as soon as I took a look at it. I was like, hey, these sections really concern me. Flag this. I added some notes to our system, sent them over, make sure that he had a copy of those. So again, thank you guys for pointing that out. And again, if you have some time, take a quick look at that. I was only able to take a look at it while I was sitting in my Health and Human Service Committee.
All right. That's great news. And I love hearing how the people are getting so actively involved and making a difference that even the governor is going, hey, what's going on? All these folks in Nye County from your district are reaching out. That's amazing. Normally we wait for questions until the end. But it looks like we have a question regarding solar. And so I thought we'd just get to it. It's from Chris. If they get public lands for building solar, what does the public get in return for our land?
That is a great question, Chris. And I that's kind of what I bring to the attention to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle is, I look at solar as mining, right? We're mining the sky for energy. And right now, mining for, gold, silver, lithium, what have you, there are so many restrictions, so stringent. There are remediation funds, there's land set aside. They have to bring it back to the natural landscape when it's done. They do so much for, the mule deer and everything else, but the solar projects actually are not doing any of that. They're currently actually getting tax abatements, so they're not paying property taxes into the counties and the state. And so that's where my bill comes into place. Is we don't want to basically subsidize California's power. We want to allow for the abatements to continue for power generated in Nevada that's going to Nevadans, because we don't want to increase the power cost to our citizens. Myself, I don't want to increase my power cost. So I'm not trying to take that part away, but we are saying, hey, there's no real benefit to this if we're selling all the power to California. Let's make sure there is a benefit to Nevada if we're going to continue to do this. And so love the question, Chris. Totally ask myself the same question every day. And that's why I brought this bill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's talk a little bit about healthcare in the legislature right now, because this is something that has been some years, there's a lot of healthcare bills. Some years there aren't a lot of healthcare bills. What's very curious about this, and I'm going to ask you about a particular bill. We have some doctors who are in the legislature, yet some of these doctors are bringing forth bills that, in my opinion, are absolutely asinine. For example, there is a bill that would make smoking cigarettes illegal, but would make it legal to smoke crack. Tell me about this. The people have to know about this, Greg.
So, thanks, Michelle. And it's actually two separate bills brought by the same legislator, who is an MD and a JD. It's just, to me, it's weird, right? Like, we want to address a public health crisis we're going to ban the sale of cigarettes, but then we're going to set up these heroin injection sites where you can shoot up heroin and smoke crack. And I'm like, that's kind of hypocritical, isn't it? Like, how could you do both? Again, I don't smoke crack, so maybe I should ask Hunter. Sorry, I really don't understand where this is coming from. Why somebody would think that these drug use sites would be a benefit to our community. And I actually got really frustrated at him the other day, because we had another bill that was trying to address the tax structure on cigars. It actually would lower the tax on the cigar, but it would actually increase revenue to the state, which I know sounds really weird. But he's like, no, we shouldn't be doing this. We have a public health crisis on our hands. And I'm like, you're the same guy that's proposing to legalize smoking crack. Like, I'm pretty sure you've just completely thrown all your credibility out the window. And I did just barely get done with my Health and Human Service 4.5 hour hearing. That was kind of interesting. The last bill, we got an amendment right at the last minute that nobody had read and nobody had a chance to digest. And even the bill presenters had no idea what they were presenting. So it was very, very interesting. Waiting to kind of digest the amendment to see if it was good, bad, or indifferent. Was getting a lot of emails. It was Assembly Bill 7. I don't know if any of you had followed that, but there were some concerns over that bill, that it was actually going to violate, there we go, Steve got it, violate people's Fourth Amendment rights. And so, right, in the right to privacy. And so I just was perplexed while sitting in that hearing going, what are we doing? We don't even really know, and the presenters don't know what they're trying to tell us what we're doing. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm glad to know that I'm pretty sure nobody supports this, and so we'll figure it out. Hopefully it just dies in committee and never goes to the floor for a vote. But definitely flagged it as a bad bill, and as I'm speaking, I'm realizing I need to flag that in my system. Wrote all my notes down saying this is a bad bill, violation of our Fourth Amendment, but didn't flag it. So now it's flagged. So thank you guys that sent the emails. Again, I really, really appreciate the input, the feedback. We've had about 900 and something bills that have been introduced so far, so it's really hard to keep track of everything. Got to give kudos to my colleagues. Really getting some good, really good input from my colleagues. Want to give a shout out to Toby Urich and Alexis Hansen. I literally, like, they sit in committees. I don't sit in any committees with the two of them at all, and they provide me so much information. And Assemblyman Urich, I gave that guy a big old bear hug this morning because that guy is taking on the majority leader and really pressing hard. An issue in Las Vegas where they literally want to take these rural preservation areas and turn it into high density apartment complexes. And these areas have been set aside to conserve the rural aspects of what's still remaining in Las Vegas. And he's taken her on. And like I said, I gave that guy a big old bear hug and just couldn't appreciate it more. And I know all of you feel the same way, that we love our lifestyle, in Pahrump, where we can have our horses and we don't have to worry about the high density going up right behind us. I know we're fighting our solar, but I just got to give a shout out to my colleagues and all the work that we're all doing. But again, we can't do this without you guys and all the help that you guys have been doing, flagging stuff for us. So we know that, hey, we need to be looking at Senate Bill 421, Assembly Bill 7. So thank you, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Another big issue that has been taking over the mainstream media the past couple of days, of course, has been the issue of school safety and school security. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone in Nashville who was affected by the horrible shooting that was there. But I have been so impressed to see that our legislature is really taking action right now to make schools safer. There's the governor's bill, there's Alexis Hansen's bill. I know you're working with the governor a lot directly on these bills. Can you give us an update on a lot of these school safety bills? Because so many people on today are parents and they want to make sure that their kids are safe. So what's going on with that?
Michelle, thank you for that. Because I as a father, I was, absolutely heartbroken the other day. And luckily the school my son goes to does have armed security. And I know a number of the schools are now looking at that. And so then that leads right into some of the bills that we're looking at. The governor proposed Assembly Bill 330. Assemblywoman Hansen proposed Assembly Bill 194. And then Assemblywoman Angie Taylor from up north has another bill, all trying to address school safety and saying, we kind of went too far. We're prohibiting kids from being suspended, expelled. We're not allowing the teachers to discipline the children. And so they're trying to claw back some of that stuff that was put into place under Governor Sisolak to really give the teachers the tools that they need to try to address, some of the issues that's going on. And look, I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be honest. I got suspended from school when I was a kid. We all make mistakes.
What did you do, Greg? What did you do?
I don't remember. I was a little kid, but I just remember going home and I was disciplined by my parents. And I know that I did not do that again. But I think that it is important. It's a life lesson, whether you were suspended in school or not. You see your friends that get suspended and you're like, I don't want to do that. And so giving the tools back to the teachers and in the classrooms is super important. I do know that the governor's office, Assemblywoman Hansen and Assemblywoman Taylor are all working together to try to take their different bills and try to come up with something that we all agree on, that we could push forward. So our teachers are safe, our students are safe, and our parents can feel comfortable with their kids going to school.
And Steve just asked, he just made a comment basically that he wants, security on campus. At the moment, though, none of the bills that are addressing the issue of school safety are really talking about putting security on campus. It's more about the discipline structure for students that may have violent tendencies, correct?
Yeah, that's the bills that I referred to here. Yes, there's another bill. I didn't sit in this hearing. I did sit through the governor's hearing, at least the governor's presentation, to show some support for it. But there is another bill that's out there that's at least in the Clark County School District trying to address some of the Clark County School District police. Again, I don't sit on education, so I don't know all the details. I don't know where that's headed. But obviously the Clark County School District police, that they're armed. I don't know the exact details of, which campuses they're at and when and so on and so forth. But I do know that is a topic of conversation that came up prior to this week. I think the bill had a hearing about 2 weeks ago, and is something that is being looked at through the Clark County School District Police Department.
Wonderful. And that's what, as Tom was kind of mentioning as well, that's what we're looking for, is for armed security, not necessarily to armed teachers, because arming teachers themselves could be not necessarily the wisest move in order to keep kids the safest. Let's talk about your voter ID bill very quickly, because this has been one of the most talked about bills of the entire legislative session. I know the governor also has a bill that has included voter ID in it as well. But I know that you wanted to let your constituency know you need their help now more than ever when it comes to this voter ID bill. Give us the details on that, Greg.
So I do, and the governor did. The governor's put in a bill for election reform to restore election integrity, and his is a little bit more robust than what my bill is. He does include some of the voter ID language. I'm just looking. I got it here in front of me right now. It's Senate Bill 405, and it's quite a bit longer than mine. But again, those of you that know, put in the voter ID bill on the Assembly side. Senator Hansen has a voter ID bill. On the Senate side, we've been meeting with some of the stakeholders that literally on the left side of the aisle, they really want to see this move forward because they believe that it's good policy. And so this is where I'm going to ask for more of your help. And that is, I've been requesting for a hearing for my voter ID bill to the chair, Assemblywoman Gorlow, and she has been non-responsive in allowing me to have a hearing on this bill. And so this is where I'd like to ask you guys to continue what you've been doing on all these other bills and email her, call her, and say, we support Assembly Bill 88 and we would like it to get a hearing. Because we are coming up against the deadline. April 14th is the deadline for bills to pass out of committee. So we really only have about 2 weeks to get a hearing, and then about a week after that to get a work session and get it to the floor. And so I'm going to ask for some help because I believe in the grassroots. I can't do this all on my own. And so if you could please email the Assemblywoman, the chair, Chair Gorlow, and
I've got her email in the comments right now. So anyone who's watching on any platform can see her email right there, michelle.gorlow@asm.state.nv.us. You can just copy and paste it so that you can email her directly. And then later in the week, we'll be giving you guys some more information on how to reach out to her to help out with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, everyone, in advance.
Yeah, that's huge. So how do you feel right now amongst your colleagues across the aisle with your bill? I know there were other election integrity bills. Now the governor's got an election integrity bill. Are our friends on the other side of the aisle, are they willing to negotiate? Are they willing to budge? Or are they just standing firm? No way, no how. That's not happening.
So I believe the governor's going to get a hearing on his bill on the Senate side. I haven't talked to the other side on the Senate to see where they're at. But I kind of feel like we're in a holding pattern right now with the governor's bill dropping on Monday. It was Monday night. I believe it was later in the evening. And so I think that the Democrats are trying to figure out, what are we doing with the governor's bill? We're going to give them a hearing. But for me, I want to take this from both sides. I want to take it from the Senate side with the governor's bill and Senator Hansen's bill, and take it from the Assembly side, and let's have hearings on both sides of the aisle. Let's see where we're at. Senator Hansen's bill, his voter ID bill, is a little bit different than mine. He has a little bit more expansive ID allowance. He allows for military ID, which I'm open to, and I would be willing to amend into my bill. I did not include that because I just tried to keep it simple and says we already have a form of voter ID and the same day voter registration. So let's just take what we already have for some of the population and say we're just going to require it for everyone. So I just took the simplistic route. He kind of said, well, I want to expand that. Our military deserve to be able to use that ID. And I agree with him. And I think that's probably a good suggestion to include. I have not had a chance to digest the governor's bill here, Senate Bill 405 yet, to see exactly what he's got. It's been a very hectic, thank you, Barbara. But it's been a very hectic week with bills dropping late at night, and then committee hearings, going 4.5 hours now. Lots of moving parts, lots of different things going on. I did want to bring back to education, Michelle, if that's okay, and mention
Sure. Can we just ask one voter ID question that Linda brought up that I thought was good? Do any of these bills, yours, the governor's, does it get rid of ballot boxes? Because with ballot boxes, how would an ID work?
So again, I haven't had a chance to digest the governor's bill. It's on the Senate side. So I normally don't spend a lot of time on the Senate bills until they transfer over to the Assembly side. And that's just because there are normally going to be a number of amendments that are presented, adopted. I'm like I just said, I'm open to an amendment on my voter ID bill to include military IDs. So I don't know. I have a feeling that his bill is going to address some of that. We do have Assemblyman Ken Gray's got a great voter bill that would change the date in which the mail ballots had to be received. So we actually have an election day where everything is done instead of being 49th and waiting for everybody to finish counting ballots. Assemblywoman Dickman actually does address the ballot boxes and the mail ballot. Hers is a very extensive omnibus bill. Really tries to incorporate a lot of what Florida's done in her bill, and I did co-sponsor that one. I believe Assemblyman Gray's I also co-sponsored, but we keep running into deadlines, and sometimes we don't get a chance to get our names on. But I believe I did get a chance to jump on that.
And then one more follow-up that people are kind of commenting right now about it being very difficult to discuss anything with Assemblywoman Gorlow because she's non-responsive to emails and phone calls. Ellen goes, so what's our option then? I mean, other than if you don't get a hearing, other than emailing her, calling her office, that's really all they can do, correct?
The only other option is that people could actually mail her a handwritten letter or type it up, print it out, and stick it in the mail. I've experienced the same thing. I have not gotten an email response back from her on a hearing. And so that leads me to believe that she doesn't want to give it a hearing. Part of it is again, I believe it's because they wanted to give the governor a hearing first and listen to what the governor has to say. But again, I would like to see it come from both the Senate side and the Assembly side, because I think that it's important that both sides hear the different bills, and then there may be a way of merging and amending so both bills get incorporated together, so we don't miss things.
Right, absolutely. All right. Well, I know you wanted to go back to education for a hot second. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought. Those questions just kind of
Mhm.
came in right when you were talking about it. So, um, on the education front, what else is going on that you want to let people know about?
So I introduced, let me grab my sheet here so I can give you the bill number, Assembly Bill 385. And like I said earlier, I like to have the bills coming from both the Senate side and the Assembly side so we could try to figure out how things are going to be. And so what I've done is I have taken um, something that I worked on with Senator Gansert in the last session, the interim, and that is the expanding opportunity scholarships, which would give parents school choice. And we took a bill that I had last session that would increase the threshold from, I think it's currently 300% the poverty level, and we're bringing it up to 400% the poverty level, which really just matches the Affordable Health Care Act. And that's kind of the reason for that, is that we're trying to get more people eligible for these scholarships for their children. And then also incorporating another bill that Senator Gansert and I had last session that would increase the tax credits that would be available for these. And it's about school choice. It's about parents being able to say, my son's just not really working out at this school. Maybe I need to get him into this school, and really finding what fits the student best. And so I see the comment, Barbara, there, that it may not see the light of day. I'm hoping that we can have the conversations in both the Assembly side and the Senate side. I have mirrored her language. Like I said, we worked on that for the last couple of sessions to bring bills last session that did not get a hearing. I will admit that it didn't happen. But we have a different governor now, and Governor Lombardo has said that this is a priority of his as well. And so I'm hoping that we could try to work something out to where we could get a hearing in both houses. But I just I wanted to point out that how we're kind of working things, and that we're coordinating things with the Senate and the Assembly. And even though the language it's literally identical, I did not vary from her language. I just felt that it was really important that we have it coming from both houses at the same time, so we can have different hearings, and hopefully we can get some of it accomplished.
And hopefully we can, fund opportunity scholarships for more than just one session so that we don't have to keep going back to this year after year after year after year. But maybe that's probably a little too much wishful thinking on my part. Well, you know what, Assemblyman, we have reached the 30-minute point here in the live town hall. So this is usually when we like to open it up to questions. So anyone who's watching right now, if they have a question for Assemblyman Greg Hafen that you would like to ask, either about what's going on in the legislature, about a particular bill, about anything really at all, maybe what he was suspended for, maybe we'll dig it out of him and find out what it was. You can ask those questions now in the comments and we will have him answer it. Now, I know I wondered, Assembly Bill, I think it's 231, that banking bill, is that going to be voted on tomorrow on the Assembly floor?
So I got an update. I don't know how many of you are following Assembly Bill 231. I'm sure a lot of you have seen either Glenn Beck or Tucker Carlson talk about the, I think Ron DeSantis calls it the Big Brother digital currency. And that was a big red flag for me. And again, I don't sit in that committee. But as soon as I started digging into the digest, I flagged that for my colleague that I mentioned earlier, Toby Urick, and said, "Hey, Toby, what's going on here? Because this scares me." And he's like, "I don't know. Let me take a look at it." It goes into the UCC, or the Uniform Code, and then sure enough, the next day, after I point that out to him, Glenn Beck's talking about it. And then the very next night, Tucker Carlson's talking about it. And so Toby has probably spent 6 entire days diving into the code, going through everything, looking at what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida, what Kristi Noem actually vetoed, and trying to say, hold on, we need to pump the brakes. He went to the bill sponsor. I went to the bill sponsor and I was like, what are you doing? And he's working on an amendment. And what he's been told so far is that the amendment is going to remove all of the Big Brother digital currency, all of the changing of the definition of money, and which, if the amendment comes out like they say they were going to work on, that will be a huge victory to all of you, because I know so many people have been emailing everyone to get the word out and say, we don't want this. I mean, let's be honest. The federal government hasn't exactly been fiscally responsible with our money. We've got a mountain of debt at the federal level, but Nevada actually has done a good job. We've got a rainy day fund right now of about $900 million, which is about 20% of our operating expenditures. And why would Nevada, who's been fiscally responsible, want to give the federal government more power over our currency when they exactly haven't been the best? I don't want to knock them too hard, but I just, so again, all of you that have sent emails opposing AB 231 and the concerns, there are talks of an amendment. I think that Toby has come to an agreement with the bill sponsor on what the language should look like, and that for us to agree to it, that language has to be explicitly stricken out and removed, and certain safeguards put into place to ensure that that's not going to happen. And if we get that amendment, that's going to be a huge victory. We will be sending out an email letting you know. I know we've been talking to a lot of the other stakeholders and organizations like the State Party, Keystone, MPRI, saying, hey, this is where we're at. Can you help us with some of this language and make sure that we're not missing something, and that we get the safeguards that we need, and we get everything deleted that we needed. So it's really been a big team effort on this. And again, want to say thank you for all of your efforts. Sometimes my colleagues go, Hafen, man, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm telling you, you just watch. And sure enough, the next day, Glenn Beck's talking about it. The following day, Tucker Collerson's talking about it. And then the following weeks, you guys are all emailing my colleagues, and they're going, whoa, this is a huge red flag. So again, I have to thank you guys. Can't say enough. I can't do this alone. And so we got a big team working on trying to get this fixed.
Tom wanted to know more about your what's going on with your veteran bill, AB 203. Can you give us a quick update on that?
Yeah. So thank you, Tom. I actually had a work session, and so I had a hearing on that bill. I don't know if I had the hearing last time or not. And I actually presented with one of my colleagues across the aisle, Assemblyman De Silva. Assemblyman De Silva is a Purple Heart recipient. He has permanent disability in his left arm. Really great guy. I can't thank him enough for his service to our country. And so we presented that bill, which would actually allow for our decorated veteran plates to be personalized, which currently they cannot be, but classic vehicles can, which was always weird to me. And to expand the current free parking that's given to our disabled veteran license plates to our Purple Heart veterans and our other decorated veteran plates, as a way of saying thank you. We already say thank you when you have your disabled veteran plates, but a lot of our Purple Heart stars are also disabled veterans. It's a very small token of our appreciation. And the great news is we got a work session that passed out of committee unanimously. There's a small fiscal note. It's a couple $1,000. So it's going to go to Ways and Means. It's been exempt, so I don't need to worry about the deadline for April 14th or anything like that. But I have full faith that we'll be able to get that through. I'm making that one of my very top priorities this session. I should say all my bills are top priorities, but it's been high on my priority list. This is the second session that I brought this bill, trying to get it through. Made some tweaks this session, specifically on the personalized side, and I think I have about 6 or 7 of the Democrats that are co-sponsors with me. So I've got complete bipartisan support. And the fiscal note, again, it's less than $10,000, and in the scheme of our multi-billion-dollar budget is not much. And as much as I know people don't like the DMV has actually been really good to work with on this bill to make sure that we're implementing things in a timely manner, because they're in the process of switching over their complete IT system, which has been an absolute disaster, but they're getting closer. And so I'll give their staff credit for working with us, at least their legislative staff, to make sure that when we implement this, we're not causing problems with their system, so we get it right the first time. So that's an exciting little bit. That was my first work session, first bill out of work session, out of committee, onto the floor, then sent over to Ways to work out the finances part.
All right. It looks like William's with us, and he's deep in the weeds of NB Ledge culture here, because he asks, is there a deadline to propose any further BDRs? I ask because there's always change needed based on developments locally and statewide after the session started. Without getting too deep in the weeds in that, can you give him a quick answer to that one?
So short answer is legislators are done. So I can't introduce a bill. My bills are all introduced. We hit that deadline on Monday. However, we can have committee bills. The Speaker and the Senate Majority Leader can also introduce emergency bills for things that do come up, Bill, and it depending on what the nature is, those typically have to come directly from the Speaker and the Majority Leader. Every once in a while, you'll see something come out of the committee Ways and Means. We have budget bills and things like that get introduced. Most of those have exemptions and waivers and so on and so forth, so they can be introduced at a later date. But me, as just a legislator in the minority party, I can't introduce any other bills. That doesn't mean I can't talk to others and try to incorporate some ideas into amendments on other bills. It's easier said than done. I'll admit that. But sometimes there's opportunities to tweak a bill here and there, get an amendment. So if, Bill, you got something that you're looking at, let me know. Glad to take a look. I'll probably stick it on some of my policy staff and say, hey, can you find me a bill that this might fit into? Sometimes we're able to do it. Sometimes we're not. Was able to do one last session on a bill that actually helped the wineries out in Pahrump. And so that ended up being a pretty good success for everyone. And so, again, if you guys see stuff like that you're interested, let me know. And also, I always keep a track, a list of things for different ideas. And so when I see an opportunity, I like to be able to strike. So the more information I have, the better.
Now, we've talked about the governor's bills and AB 330 quite a bit already in this live town hall, so I don't want to rehash what we've already done. But Dawn had a specific question that I don't know that we've addressed yet, and that is, how will the unfunded mandate be funded should AB 330 pass? So
the education funding is a little bit different than a lot of our other stuff. We kind of fund the education, and then so the money will go to the Nye County School District or the Clark County School District, and we say, we're giving you this pot of money. These are the programs that we're mandating have to be in there, but it's up to you to kind of spend the money, and it gives the school districts the flexibility of how things need to be done. So yes, it qualifies as a quote unquote unfunded mandate. But in the governor's budget, the governor's proposing a $2 billion increase in education. I believe there's a Senate bill from the Senate Majority Leader to, I want to say it's $200 million for teacher pay raises. So even though there's the unfunded mandate portion that's on the bill and it says, unfunded mandate, there are ways of where when I'm in the budget committees, we're actually looking at how some of these things are going to fit and the puzzle pieces. And I actually was meeting with staff yesterday morning for fiscal, and we were saying, all right, where are we at now? Where are we going in our future? And they've got just line items for assembly bills. They don't have a number written in, but that's where some of these things get plugged in. We follow all of it. Again, staff up here is excellent. And so we have recurring meetings with them to get our updates, in addition to our committee hearings that goes everything, because the budget's big. I'm not going to pretend to say it's not extremely large, but that's kind of how we're tracking things and what we're doing.
Absolutely. Now, we're getting towards we're at the 6:40 mark. So if you have any questions for Assemblyman Greg Hafen, please type them in the chat now so we can get those answered directly. But right now I'm going to give you a question. And that is, I know that it's almost April, which is very hard to believe. These last 2 months are always the busiest. They are always the fastest. They are always the most hectic of the session. So just give us a feel. What do you think the rest of the session is going to be like? Because it has already been somewhat contentious. There's been so many healthcare bills that would socialize medicine here in Nevada. There has been a lot of refusal from the Democrats to look at any of the bills that Republicans are bringing forth because they have the majority in the legislature. They've been somewhat difficult to work with. So what's your assessment of what the next 2 months are going to be like?
It's a different session. Obviously, the last 2 sessions that I served in, we had a Democrat governor, Democrat legislature. They could steamroll us if they wanted to. Obviously, there were some things that we could do with 2/3 bills and so on and so forth. If you bugged me yesterday, I probably would have given you a different answer than I'm going to give you today. I had a meeting with some of the Democrat chairs today, where they really want to sit down and start diving into the bills and seeing where it is that we all agree. And so that was really refreshing to me this morning, to have that conversation and say, let's do this. Let's set up a regular meeting. Let's try to work on the things that we can agree on. There's going to be stuff that we're not going to get there. And again, it's like AB 231 also, where, Assemblyman Urich is working with the bill sponsor to get an amendment. I think there's going to be a lot of bills that get amended to address a lot of our concerns, because the Democrats understand that the governor has veto power. And if we're not all on the same page, then we just go tell the governor, hey, we don't like this. If you want to veto it, go for it. So I felt a lot better this morning than I had been feeling earlier in the week. It's been a very long week already, and it's only Wednesday. But that's because it was deadline day. And so I'm happy to hear that they really do want to try to work and come up with things that we can all agree on, because let's be honest, the state has issues. We have behavioral and mental health issues that have come about from the COVID lockdown. We have education issues that we are really trying to address. I am very excited that the education, school safety stuff is being worked on collaboratively with both sides of the aisle on the assembly and the governor's office to try to come up with something that we all agree on. And I think we're close. I don't want to jinx us. I'm going to knock on wood here, but I do think that we're close. I have faith in Assemblywoman Hansen. Her and her husband are just absolutely excellent. Been mentors of mine throughout the legislative sessions, and we've been through a lot. We're on our third regular session, and we've been through 3 special sessions. And the last 3 special sessions were not fun
No.
because we did not have much say. And I see the comment here that
Yeah.
not
Do
have
we have the vote? Do we have the votes right now to override a governor's veto or no?
the Democrats are short 1 vote.
Okay. So if he vetoes something, it's done.
As long as the Republicans hold together, and that's something that I'm gonna give credit, and I tell my caucus members, we've actually done a very good job. We've had 2 bills now that have come up that have been problematic to us and to the governor's office, and we just said, whoa, nope, pump the brakes. We can't do this. We don't agree with this policy. We got to work on it. And AB 231 is one of them. And there was a Senate bill. I don't remember the name of it, the number of it off the top of my head. I apologize. But we were able to work with them on that Senate bill, get an amendment. I wasn't satisfied 100%, but we got the governor's office satisfied close enough. There's about a $200,000 impact to the rural counties. And so, some of us were not happy about that, but it was a lot better than the original, which was going to have a multi-million-dollar impact on some of the rural counties. And so we were able to negotiate an amendment on that to lower the impact from multi-million to the rural counties to it really works out to about $200,000, which, again, I wasn't 100% satisfied, but it gave us the opportunity to show that if we work together, we can get some things accomplished. And that's what we've been able to do. And my colleague from the North, Dr. Koenig, he gave a speech at the Churchill Lincoln dinner and said, this is going to be the session of amendments. And he's probably right. That's probably what we're looking at is amending bills. And, I know Assemblywoman Hansen is working with Assemblywoman Taylor on their amendments to their bills to get a school safety bill put together that can go to the governor's desk and be signed into law, so we don't have a historic veto year, because I don't think anybody wants it. It's not productive.
Right. All right. Well, as we're coming to the end of this town hall, I thought we could end with some big news, some great news for Pahrump and Nye County. I saw you posted earlier today. There are some great small businesses coming to your district, an Arby's, a Chipotle, and so much more. This is a big deal because the past 2 sessions that you were a part of, Democrats the entire time were trying to do things that were going to inhibit small businesses and would inhibit growth, particularly in counties like Nye County, where they don't have the Clark County Strip. They don't have some of the big, gambling opportunities that Clark County has. So this small business opportunity for Nye, it's huge news, number one, but you've been very instrumental in creating a place where small businesses can thrive here in this state. This was big news. We want to celebrate that. And also, how's it looking on the business front? Because we haven't talked about that at all this town hall.
So I was really excited. My younger brother actually shot me a text this morning. I'm in committee and was like, I think there's like 30 new small businesses that are opening in Pahrump. And I'm like, Chipotle is one of them. Arby's just opened. Chipotle broke ground. And it's really exciting to see more businesses opening up and thriving because they're realizing that now under the new governor, we've got a new mentality where we want to promote business. We want to promote specifically small business. And I don't know if I don't think Jenny was able to join us tonight. Jenny, the CEO of the Pahrump Chamber, was actually part of the governor's transition team. I don't think she talks about that or mentions it. She was part of it. She did the work. And that was something that was so great with the governor, is that he went to like every different sector and grabbed different people to help him in the little bit of time that he had transition from the anti-business government that we had before to now having a pro-business. My friend Rudy is now the chief of staff over at the Lieutenant Governor's office. And Lieutenant Governor Stavros, if you guys have been following me on social media, I've actually been kind of hanging out with him on some of the weekends and taking some tours of some of the great businesses throughout the state. And he's proposing legislation to help really help the small business. He's got a small business advocacy that he's trying to grow through his lieutenant governor's office, working with Rudy. And it's really awesome. And to be able to go out to some of these businesses, I was just out at Frey Ranch a couple weekends ago, and just absolutely amazing what they've been able to do and take their ranching operation and just turn it into this growing, thriving business. And you see them now with the new administration investing more capital, growing their business. I think they're about to just basically double what they can do. And it just, to me, it's exciting because it's seeing these small businesses that start out as generational farms just continue to be able to grow in Nevada, and not just be Walmart and Amazon popping up everywhere. Again, I no offense to Amazon and Walmart, I do my shopping too, but to me, small business is the backbone of our state, our community. And it's not just all about gaming, and it's not just mining. And I love our mines, and I don't really gamble except for the Super Bowl. But really, small business is the backbone of our state and our nation. To be honest, I mean, even the Amazons of the world started in somebody's garage, and so without that environment to thrive, we'll never have the next Amazon. But I feel like everybody's got that feeling that we're going to go for it. We're going to grow. We're going to grow in Nevada. And actually was just hearing the other day that Nevada's turning out to be one of the best states to form an LLC. So I think we got to keep it going.
What, we're taking the hold that Rhode Island has had? That's like Rhode Island's claim to fame, isn't it?
It is. And so I think we're about to pass them. I don't know if we passed them exactly, but we're trying, and that's the mentality, is that we really want to fight for our small businesses and help them be able to thrive on their own.
Well, first in something that's good for once. Come on. I like that. I know it's about time to go, but Cyrus had a quick question, so I want to get it in if we can. Is there a healthcare bill right now that would give healthcare to illegals?
There's not on the assembly side that I've seen. There's been some rumblings on the Senate side, but again, I don't really follow the Senate bills until they make it over to my house. We've got 450 some odd bills that have already been introduced on our side. So until they get through their process on the Senate side, I don't really know. Again, I did hear some rumblings that there might be some of that. But again, that was down on the Senate side, and I just don't follow those bills until they migrate themselves over here.
Right, exactly. There's so many bills, over 900 bills. You can't keep track of all of them. You got to wait till they get to your house and then you focus on them, which is the right way to do it. Well, Assemblyman Hafen, thank you so much for giving us this time today to keeping your constituency and really all Nevadans informed, because you have Nevadans from all over the state joining us for these live town halls, which is great. And hopefully we'll have a chance to do this again in April when it gets very, very busy. And we'll know more about how bills are going. We'll see how some of your bills are going. Hopefully that veteran bill passes and so many more. And of course, voter ID, AB 88. Remember, if you want to help Assemblyman Hafen get that bill to get a hearing, you need to send an email to the lady's email who's on the screen right now, Assemblywoman Gorlow, correct?
Yes, please. And again, thank you guys for everything. All of your emails, your feedback, your phone calls. Can't thank you enough. This really is a team effort. And I'm going to thank you in advance for emailing Michelle Gorlow, because I know you guys are all going to do it. So let's make it happen. And again, thank you guys so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for giving us so much of your time. We look forward to doing this again next month. And I appreciate every single one of you who came on to ask us questions and to learn more about the process that's going on in Carson City. So, to everyone, have a great night. Greg, I'll give you the final word to say goodnight to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. God bless. We'll see you soon.
All right. Good night, everyone.